one time you don't want any drama happening is your wedding.
I love weddings.
Morning. I look like absolute roadkill today, but I have to film some videos, and I'm also filming a very exciting audition today. I can't tell you guys about it because I feel like if I don't book it, it's not worth sharing, but it'll be fun if I do. Look at my hair. I have to show you what I really look like all the time in terrible lighting and no makeup. Roadkill. Anyways, I'll keep you guys posted. Send me all your well wishes on this audition. It'd be really cool if I got it. Goodbye. I'll see you with makeup and better lighting.
Today, we got a crazy story that is filled with wedding drama. So let's get into it. This story came September 27th, 2022. I, 30 male, have been working for my company for 7 years now, 5 of which have been spent on my current team. There are 15 people on it, and I'd say we are all pretty close, relatively speaking. I have a coworker named Bob, 33 male, who joined the team when I did. During the pandemic, he announced to everyone at a Zoom meeting that he was now engaged. Fast forward to this January, and Bob says that his wedding would be held in September of this year at a very beautiful winery. About 5 months ago, the invites start coming in for everyone on the team, but mine didn't. I waited a few weeks, but nothing came, so I went to Bob and asked if my invite got sent out. He gave me a solemn look and then told me that I wasn't invited because of a spacing issue. He said he tried to make it work but couldn't and hoped that I didn't take it personally. He also said I'd be sure to get wedding favors and a piece of cake. He also asked me to keep it to myself and said, please not make a big deal out of it. I honestly didn't know what to say, so I guess I just said, okay, and walked away. I won't lie, I was upset. I hate feeling excluded, and it was doubly worse because everyone else on the team was going except for me. And honestly, I really like weddings. They are usually really fun. I kept it to myself, but I wasn't happy. The day of the wedding came 3 weeks ago, and it went by without a hitch. Everyone on my team had a grand time and said it was beautiful. The food and party was great as well, and apparently everyone got a dozen fresh apple cider donuts to take home. I never did get that cake or wedding favors, by the way. At work the following Monday, my team member Sherry told me that everyone was confused as to where I was. Apparently, Bob said I was sick and couldn't make it. Liar! If it's just a spacing issue and not a big deal, then tell them the truth, that it's just a spacing issue. Anyways, wow, I don't know why I'm getting so angry. I was confused and then pissed. I straight up told her I wasn't invited, and I left it at that. She looked shocked and asked me to confirm, and I said, yes, I wasn't invited. Well, Sherry told someone because about 5 people asked me if I wasn't invited, and I said it was true. Today was Bob's first day back from his honeymoon, and it must have gotten back to him that I spilled the beans. He approached me in the break room, and he was upset that I told Sherry and that it wasn't a big deal I missed the wedding. I said, how would you like to be excluded from something everyone else was going to? We went back and forth for a bit before Bob walked away. I was pretty upset, so upset that my project manager came to me and asked me if I was okay because she heard about me not being invited. I didn't want this to go this far, so I said yes, but other team members came up to me and said that Bob should have invited me, and it was wrong that he didn't. Look, I realize that it was his wedding day and he's allowed to invite who he wants, but I'm allowed to be upset that I wasn't invited, right? So Reddit, am I the a-hole for telling people I wasn't invited to the wedding and being upset about it? No. Am I the only one who's thinking no? You're just being honest and said like, no, I'm not. They asked and I wasn't sick and I didn't just not show up to his wedding. I wasn't invited. And it's not a big deal. He didn't have the space.
Awkward.
Anyways, curious where this story is going because this is a long one, and how is there so much drama over this? We have an update, and it came 2 days later. I have an update to this story, and it took an interesting turn. Bob and I were in the office today. He came to me and asked if we could talk. He asked if we could clear the air over some beers with his wife after work. I said okay. After work, I meet Bob and his wife, Pam, in a bar. They both apologize for not inviting me and making me feel excluded. Bob apologized for lying and getting mad about it. The reason they didn't invite me is because they didn't want single guys at the wedding. They went to a big wedding back in 2019 that was ruined when a bunch of drunk single guys started hitting on the women there. A few of the boyfriends and husbands got pissed and it turned into a big fight. People were arrested and it completely ruined the wedding. I found it hard to believe, but they showed me a couple of Facebook videos of them at the wedding and it looked like the damn Royal Rumble going on. This is a poor excuse. I'm annoyed. I was even shown a few Facebook statuses confirming their story. Pam said she was sort of traumatized by this and swore that they would have no single guys at their wedding. Well, the wedding came and Pam stuck to her guns. Only family, couples, single women, or trusted single men were to be invited. So there were single men there. Perfect! Pam said that there were only about 10 single guys there, and they were all family members of groomsmen. She said the party turned out amazing this way since women didn't have to worry about being hit on. Pam said it truly wasn't personal, that she's so sorry for not inviting me, but would do it again. I asked if she and Bob didn't trust me enough to control myself. She said that Bob vouched hard for me, but she was sticking to her guns. The compromise was that she would have to explain it if anyone asked, and that Bob got to choose the honeymoon destination. Curiously, she said that she had a sister around my age, and I was just her type, and she wanted to keep her away from me. I was a little offended at that, but she says that it's for my own good. Her sister is a little bit of a sleut, her words not mine, and she didn't want her to get her hooks in me. Again, her words. I have some issues with Pam. I don't know Pam, but I'm not liking what I'm hearing about Pam. Itchy. Why is my ear itchy? Don't they say if your ear is itchy or something, like someone's talking about you? Bob said he should have handled it better and he wanted to be honest, but it wouldn't have made much of a difference, so he hoped I wouldn't mind as much. Plus, he figured I wouldn't want to go to the wedding as a single guy anyway. I told them I was kind of hurt. They thought I would act like a creeper at their wedding. Pam assured me that she thought I was a nice, smart, funny guy, but she just wanted to make sure their wedding went off without a hitch. They promised to make it up to me, but I told them it wasn't necessary. Pam insisted on it and said I had to know how sorry she was. So we made plans to have dinner at their expense at a very nice restaurant in the city this weekend. So in the end, I guess it wasn't anything I did, but I still feel kind of insulted. But I guess I get a free dinner out of it. Edit. There are a lot of comments here suggesting that I'm being naive, a doormat, and letting them off easy for basically calling me a creep. I won't lie, I think you all might be right. I do believe in taking the high road on most occasions, but I don't think this should be one of those times. As a side note, I don't believe them wanting to see the best in people or taking them at their word makes you naive. I had a call an hour ago with my project manager and explained the entire situation. She advised me to go to HR and make a complaint since it could lead to a hostile work environment. I have a meeting with them on Monday. I don't really want to make a formal complaint, just have it on file in case anything happens. To be honest, I don't think it will. Bob doesn't seem like that kind of person, but I've been wrong plenty of times before. So, as per the advice here, I won't be going to dinner with Bob and Pam. I will, however, insist on a public apology that doesn't imply that I'm a creep. This is taking an interesting turn. Like, what is going on? We've got the next update, which came 2 days later. Unfortunately, there's an update to the story. Honestly, this whole thing is stupid as hell, and I really just want to move on and forget about this whole thing and that it happened. But reality is often disappointing. Words to live by. Reality is often disappointing. Ain't that the truth? But first, to clarify a few things, we've got a quick list here. There are 16 points. Quick list my ass. Number 1. I got a few posts and DMs asking why I felt entitled to be invited. I want to make it clear. I don't feel entitled to anything. Yes, I wanted to be invited, but as I said, if they had been honest with me from the beginning, I wouldn't have minded so much. They were allowed to do what they wanted on their wedding day. Number 2, I'm usually not this indecisive, but this was a weird situation and I don't exactly know how to handle it. Number 3, I have never talked to Bob about women ever. We didn't have that kind of relationship. None of the men on the team do. I think the women do amongst themselves, but I can't be sure about it. Number 4, I'm choosing to believe Pam about her experience dealing with men. If recent years have shown us anything, it is that we need to believe women when they say they've been harassed or assaulted. Number 5, the trusted men were made up of family members and groomsmen who were explicitly told to not flirt with women. Pam had to turn away some of her single guy friends, and Bob had a ton of guy friends who wanted to go, but they were also turned away. Bizarre. Number 6, Bob and Pam's after party was going for a club vibe. Pam and some of her friends had very bad experiences being hit on in clubs, and Pam wanted to ensure their safety. She got the idea to exclude guys from going to women-only clubs. According to her, the vibe was so much better when women could get drunk and shake their asses and not be harassed by thirsty guys. That was in quotations. The women at the wedding appreciated the lack of guys on the dance floor, but some complained about the lack of guys at the wedding. Number 7, the wedding Royal Rumble happened at the wedding of one of her closest friends. The friend and her husband were devastated that their wedding was ruined. It was so bad they committed to having a 5-year vow renewal. Also, they were stuck with a large cleanup bill from the venue for damages. Number 8. As for me, it was 70-30 on me being invited. It came down to the fact that Pam didn't know me at all outside of my superb Super Mario Maker level design. Bob really fought hard for me, but Pam was too unsure, and then she remembered her sister. This is blowing my mind though. I'm so annoyed because if all these people are friends and in your life, like, you wouldn't have creeps in your life, would you? Like, if your closest friends are a concern to you for being creeps and starting fistfights, like, come on, Shirley.
Don't call me Shirley.
I'm just really not understanding this one. Number 9, according to Pam, although she loves her sister to death, her sister is a huge sleut and goes from guy to guy with the change of the wind. Apparently, I'm dangerously her type and she would have been all over me. I asked what was wrong with that. She said her sister doesn't deserve a sweet guy like me, and she didn't want her to get her hooks in me. This sealed my fate. Number 10, Bob said it would look horrible if I wasn't invited. That is when she came up with the compromise of taking the heat for it. He was just hoping that I wouldn't mind not going. Number 11, maybe I'm naive, but I'm choosing to believe Bob about feeling horrible about not inviting me. He seemed really broken up about it. Either he's a damn good actor or he's telling the truth. Number 12, he acknowledged that the way he handled it was terrible. According to him, there was no way of doing this without it being awkward. As for why he lied, apparently he panicked and couldn't think of anything better. Him getting mad at me for not going along with it wasn't necessarily about me, but being mad at Pam for putting him in the situation. So Pam just calls the shots, I guess. Number 13, he promised to make a full apology in front of the team when we're all together in the office again in a few weeks. 14, Pam did say that she felt terrible about me and the other guys that she had to exclude, but that she would do it again to ensure the safety of the women around her. Listen here, I'm a female, all for women's safety and comfortability, 100%. But aren't these people your friends? That's where I'm confused. Sounds like you guys need some new friends if you're that concerned. Number 15, she was extremely insistent on making it up to me. She said that we should be friends going forward and offered a nice home-cooked meal to me, followed by some wine and a round of Mario Kart. I turned that down. That's when the expensive restaurant solution was offered. And last but not least, I accepted because it seemed like a fair compromise at the time. They didn't even have to really apologize for it, but they were offering me dinner, so I took it. In hindsight, I shouldn't have, but at that point, I just wanted to get out there and go home. Now for the update. I decided not to accept their dinner offer. I called Bob on his work phone to explain my change of heart. He was disappointed, but understood my reasoning. I parroted some of the talking points, and he said he understood. He wouldn't make a big deal out of it, and we could just move on. I thanked him for being cool about it, and he hung up. I thought that would be the end of it, but not 5 minutes later, Bob called me back. I groan and pick up. Surprisingly, it was Pam on the other side. Pam is very involved in Bob's personal life and relationships.
Calm down, woman!
She didn't come at me hostile, but she did sound upset. She wanted to know why I didn't want to come anymore. I explained what I told Bob about how they basically insisted I was a creep. I told her I didn't want to invalidate her experiences, but I didn't have to accept being told I am a potential sexual predator. She said she didn't mean it like that and that she thinks I'm a good person, but couldn't risk it for her wedding. She was practically begging me to meet her in person to clear the air further. She kept on saying that we could be the best of friends if I would just give her a chance to explain better. I said no thanks and that I had to go, but I'm sorry that she went through what she went through. I ended the call by saying, by the way, I didn't even get those donuts. I then hung up. It's been quiet since then, but Bob is back in the office on Monday, and I fear Pam might do something drastic. I hope this thing is over, but I fear it might not be. It wasn't. We have many more updates, but before we get to them, let's take a sip of water. To be honest, my lip gloss is getting chunky, so I need some moisture. Cheers. Drink your water. You need to hydrate.
All right, post-audition debrief. It went well. I had to do something that's a little out of my comfort zone, but it went well considering. I can't say what, obviously, but this is a little sneak peek because I wore this in the audition. So the only hint I can give is, let's just say the audience is very young. And that's all I can say. But fingers crossed, it's out of my hands. They're taking submissions for another like 10 days, so I probably wouldn't hear back for a little bit because they're not filming until like the end of October, November. So there's a lot of time. Cross your fingers.
The next update was 3 days later. I reached out to Bob and explained that I wouldn't be taking him and Pam up on their weekend dinner offer. And now this silly drama continues. I went in 2 hours early on Monday so that I could potentially avoid a Bob after work chat. Surprisingly, Bob came in an hour early, lining him up to potentially leave with me. Bob looked exhausted, and I don't mean tired, I mean mentally. I've seen Bob tired. We've worked many late nights on projects together. I've seen him hungover. This wasn't any of that. I almost can't describe it. He looked worn down. He shot me a sup nod. One of those. And I gave him one back and we got to work. I kept meeting with HR. Our HR rep is a wonderful lady named Sally. I told Sally the whole story and she said that in her 15 years of HR work, she had never heard a more stupid story. Okay, so Sally is with me on this because this is so dumb. We shared a good laugh and she told me that it would be unofficially logged just in case Bob or Pam did anything crazy. She told me she thinks Bob is harmless, but to keep my eyes sharp. The rest of the day was uneventful. The most interesting thing that happened was that I saw Bob's face buried in his hands for a good minute or so. With 2 hours to go, I go to the break room for some water. Bob follows me in and approaches me cautiously. I gave him a surprised look and he just threw up his hands as if to say he was not hostile. He said he knows I'm the last person I want to talk to right now, but he needs to talk to me. I said fine, but I angled us over to where the security camera was. Paraphrasing here, but he said, "Look, I won't ever speak to you again if you don't want me to, but let me buy you around and explain all of the things Pam didn't tell you when we met the other day." Bob sounded desperate, something I'd never seen from him before. He then hit me with the money quote. "Look, man, I could really use a friend right now, and I've always considered you a friend." Not a big enough friend to be invited to your wedding, but I think we know who was really in charge of that. Well, sorry to disappoint everyone here, but I am a big, gullible softie. I agreed to talk with him, but I told him that there would be absolutely no more meetings on this situation after this. He agreed and said he would meet me after work. After work, we walked to our usual bar, the same one I met him and Pam the first time. I suspected Pam might be there, but she wasn't. Nevertheless, I kept my eyes open for her. Once we sat down, Bob apologized yet again. This one seemed even more genuine than the first. I told him he didn't need to keep apologizing. I got it the first time. He said that he had to apologize because there's a lot more to the story about the wedding than I thought. Bob explained that he fought Pam like hell to get her to give up the single men's exclusion, but she was dead set on it. They argued for months, and a lot of people offered different solutions. Bob suggested a smaller wedding with only immediate family and friends, but Pam shut that down. She always dreamt of a big wedding with lots of people there, and a small wedding didn't fit her dream. Her parents said, "Why not hire a security guard?" Pam said that she wanted the possibility eliminated completely. She said that a few single men could stand to not be invited to a party for once in their lives. Bob said he had a lot of friends who wanted to come and that they would be hurt if they weren't invited. Pam said she was making sacrifices too. A lot of her guy friends wanted to come. Bob finally relented and said if the exclusion were to happen, he wanted nothing to do with that decision and wanted it to be known that it was out of his hands. Pam said she would take the heat for it when it came to that, but didn't think people would go crazy over it. She also gave Bob the choice of their honeymoon destination since he was making the sacrifice. They went to the French I don't give a Hold on, I need to skim through this. Apparently, Pam had lied to her guy friends about why they weren't invited. One of her close friends let slip the real reason they weren't invited. They were effing furious. She was flooded with angry calls and messages from her friends about Pam essentially calling them potential sexual predators. Potential. Why am I saying potential? Pam explained her position multiple times to her friends, but it fell on deaf ears. She has lost many friends over this. One of the guys said, "If you think that I'm a creeper, then why the F are we even friends?" Pam has been crying for days and her work life has become terrible. She might even need to leave her job. By this point, Bob had a few hard drinks and was tipsy, so he let loose a little more. He said that her decision had cost him friends of his own. So many of his guy friends were furious to learn they were excluded, and especially for the reason why. On the day of the wedding, about 6 or so of his closest friends who were excluded decided to go on a fishing trip as a screw you to Bob and Pam. The cherry on top of the petty cake, they decide to donate $500 and some items to a local women's shelter. Bob was devastated, and none of those guys are returning his calls or messages. Even their families are upset with them over this exclusion. Pam's parents are publicly supportive, but chastise her behind the scenes. She doesn't have anyone but her bridesmaids and about 3 other friends who believe in her cause. Bob said at one point that Pam was hysterical and screaming, "Why can't anyone just understand my point of view?" I couldn't believe what I was hearing, but there was more to this crazy story. At this point, we were about an hour in and Bob was nice and tipsy, so I pried for more information. Bob said that at first, Pam was sticking to her guns that the exclusion was a good idea, but she started to waver a little bit. She said that most people understood where she was coming from, but that it was too heavy-handed and even a little sexist. Bob and Pam have had multiple blow-ups over the whole situation, and they're not in a good place right now. He said that instead of feeling giddy about his new wife and basking in the glow of being married, he's harboring a ton of resentment towards her because she cost him a lot of his friends and ruined their lives over a stupid party. As for me, Pam actually really likes me. One of her biggest regrets about this entire situation is not getting to know me better before the wedding. He said that Pam thinks I'm one of the coolest people she's ever met. I asked Bob how she made that determination from a 15-minute chat, and he laughed and said, "I don't know, man, she probably has a crush on you or something." I laughed, but that made the situation a little bit weird. As for Pam's sister, she is a sleut, but not in the way you may think. Bob explained that Pam's sister, Beth, is by all accounts a very smart, successful, respectful woman. She just happens to like sex. Bob explained that Beth is really into the kink scene and is into things like ethical non-monogamy. She frequently mentions her adventures to Bob and Pam, and it got them into the lifestyle as well. Oh. We're just finding out a lot about Bob and Pam, aren't we? I was a little surprised and I asked for clarification, and he said, yeah, she kind of got us into some of that stuff. I was shocked. I mean, how often do you hear that your coworker is into BDSM? But hey, no kink shaming from me. So it turns out that Beth isn't some soul-sucking, home-wrecking, out-of-control succumbus. She's just a regular woman who enjoys intimacy. Bob said that Pam was scared that we would hit it off. We share many of the same interests and have similar personality types, according to Bob. Pam wasn't lying about that, nor that I was exactly her type. She likes tall guys, and from what I've heard, she would have been all over me if she found out I was single. Who cares? This is so stupid. Well, now I was curious, so I asked Bob if he had a picture. If you and Beth get together, honestly, that would make this better, so might as well keep reading. He pulled up her Instagram, and I must say she was damn gorgeous. She looked like Pam's twin, only she was a little bit thicker. I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty pissed at Pam all over again, LOL. Bob said that Pam has always been a little jealous of Beth. I don't know why. Pam is a stunner herself and looks just like Beth. Bob said that as an FU to Pam, he would give her my Instagram so that we can DM each other, and he would put in a good word for me. I thanked him profusely. He said that Pam was so desperate to make amends with me because I made a big impression on her, and she thinks that we'd be really good friends if we hung out. Bob said that she was just grasping at straws at this point. An hour later, Pam texted me from his work phone. She told me, "Thank you for taking care of my hubby. You're a good person." I didn't respond, and that brings us to now. I hope that this is mostly the end of it, but it seems like Pam might be desperate and do something rash. Pam is desperate for friends to remain in their life at this point. Next update, we're at October 13th, 9 days later. We need him and Beth to get together. Don't we? Don't we? Like, we're all wanting that, right? I am. Bob was true to his word and gave Beth my Instagram. She messaged me last week and we got to talking. The conversation went so well that we agreed on a coffee date this past weekend. Well, well, sorry to disappoint the naysayers here, but the date went extremely well. I got too ahead of myself. We talked about a lot. Our hobbies, interests, futures, jobs, and families. Bob was right. We are remarkably similar, even down to some of our specific food tastes. The date went so well that we met at a bar next to her office for some after-work drinks. And yes, that date went amazing as well. Now here's the part I think you're all going to like. We're going to do a hike this coming weekend, and along the way, we're going to make a stop at the winery where Bob and Pam had their wedding and pick me up some god dang apple cider donuts. This is hilarious. I think if all goes well on this date, I'm going to ask her to be my girlfriend. She just feels special. So that's it. I'll let you know how the hike date goes, but honestly, I think the situation is mostly settled now. Bob has been keeping a distance but hooked me up, and Pam hasn't been in contact with me for a week now. After the hike, it'll probably be my last post. I don't intend on milking this thing for unnecessary drama. However, we have one last update, baby. Let's go. We've made it this far. All right, so the final update came 6 days later. Well, we had a hike this past Saturday and it was beyond amazing. The weather was perfect, the foliage was beautiful, and the view from the top of the mountain was amazing. We had a picnic at the top of the mountain, and during a lull in the conversation, I summoned all of my courage and I asked her if she would like to be my girlfriend. I was waiting for a more opportune time, but I guess I just got swept up in the moment and the view. She smiled, laughed, and said I was the corniest person alive for asking in such a cliche place, but she said that she loved corny and cliche. She said yes, and we sealed it with a kiss. On our way back, we finally stopped by the winery where their wedding was, and man, it was really beautiful. It had a panoramic view of the mountain, and the vineyard was very pretty. But I wasn't here for the view, I was here for the goddamn apple cider donuts. Funny enough, we got there kind of late and almost missed the fresh donuts for the day. Thankfully, we got some of the last batches. But you don't want sappy love stories, you're here for the drama. Well, me and Beth made it Instagram official on Sunday, and apparently Pam saw it on her sister's profile. She texted Beth on Sunday night, "How do you know OP?" She said, "Bob introduced us." Pam only replied with, "I knew this would happen. We figured that might mean trouble down the road, but we don't care. Pam can be as mad as she wants." This morning, I actually went up to Bob and thanked him for introducing me to Beth. He explained that he and Pam had a huge fight over him introducing us. He said he didn't care about it though. It was just worth it to just get us together, and was a big F you to Pam. I told him I'd buy him around as a thank you, but he said don't worry about it, and that it was the least he could do. So that's it for the update. I'd like to hope that this is the end, but Pam seems pretty upset with us being together. Either way, I'm just so happy with Beth. She is a once in a lifetime kind of person. Peace and love. Peace and love, baby. What I'm not really getting here, Pam keeps going on about how you guys would be great friends, you're such a good person. Why wouldn't she want that for her sister then? Why are you so mad? You keep saying I'm wonderful and I'm nice, so why wouldn't you want your sister to meet a wonderful and nice man? Not making sense. Pam kind of sucks, and good luck to Bob in that marriage. That sounds miserable. That's all I have to say. Let me know your thoughts. See you guys in the comment section. Stay classy out there. Stay sassy.